Process. How different is this process?
We don't have enough time to talk about all that.
There are major ski boot manufacturers who would love to license our technology and build the boot, but they realize that it's completely disruptive. It makes everything they have in their factories obsolete, the production machinery that we need to make this boot. So they're really reluctant to do it, which is good because it gives us more time to establish ourselves, and no one's going to chase us until we get big enough to start hurting them.
But having said that, we've done all the hard lifting, so now it would be turnkey. Everything about it is different. Even we've had to create our own nuts and bolts because there weren't fasteners that were made for thin material like this. Everything about it is something that we've had to really develop.
So just list off the different things.
And to come up with a turnkey, efficient way of molding the material, because the thermoplastic composites we use are pretty new materials, and no one's really developed a turnkey system for molding them, like injection molding or vacuum forming.
But we even had to develop the material with our supplier. I mean, they had some different things. So we're the only people in the world that use this material.
Mm-hmm. Then we had to figure out how to trim the parts, because when you mold them, there's scrap that has to be trimmed off and holes that have to be put in the part. The first prototypes we did with a bandsaw and a router and a Dremel tool, and it took all day to trim enough parts for one pair of boots. That was one of the first problems we had to solve, because we knew we couldn't do it like that.
But we got to tell the story about trimming this stuff, because we tried trimming it on bandsaws and other things like that, and it wasn't working. Maybe a water jet cutter. No. Dave said, well, maybe a laser. So I tracked down a laser guy and said, okay, Dave, we're taking a ride. So we drove up to the middle of cow country in Hyde Park, Vermont.
About 2 miles out on this dirt road.
Yeah. Drive down behind this old dairy barn, come in through this door and go in, and there's this place that's hardwood and just filled.
Hardwood floors, fluorescent lights, guys walking around with black baseball caps and beards like roadies from ZZ Top, and lasers everywhere.
Yeah. And so we tested the material, and it worked. But then it was like, okay, how do we cut all this stuff? So Dave came. We're riding on the car on the way home, and Dave said, I think I've got some ideas. And he called up the guy the next day.
And I said, I think what we need is a industrial robot, 6-axis industrial robot, a small one, like a desktop one. He says, I got one in the barn. This guy also said he had a laser on the Mars rover, one that he set up to go on the Mars rover.
So this
guy, I don't know, he could be pulling my leg, but I wouldn't be surprised.
It was a good story.
So the laser we had was one he had in the barn, just happened to be laying around as a 75-watt laser. And then the robot was this 1980s industrial desktop 6-axis robot like you see in a car factory, only smaller. And he put together a system. And I started searching for some software to be able to program it. And once we got the package together, we fired the thing up, and it worked beautifully, except the laser wasn't quite powerful enough, so it didn't do a really clean cut, and the robot was too slow. And when you cut with a laser, you want to cut fast, because the heat builds up and you get a big heat affected zone if you don't go fast enough. So we just had to buy a new robot. Once we proved the principle, went out and bought a brand new robot, and then upgraded from a 75-watt laser to a 200-watt laser, and boom, that's what we've been using ever since, and it works beautifully.
And it just goes to show you could never have too much power.
Well, I'd like a 700 watt.
More power.
That's $100,000.